Hi everyone. It's the last talk, please stay with me. Awake the force in you, please. Today I'm going to talk about Swift, mostly. A little bit of you and I as iOS developers. Some of you are maybe product managers or product owners. My name is Audrey. I'm working at Xcode. And I'm an iOS developer since 9 years. At Xcode, we build cloud-based software to help businesses with virtual call centers. We are a B2B company. We also add analysis, call routing, contact sharing, customer management to voice calls, particularly in these days with remote work. #pandemic. We have an app on the store, which was built with Xcode 10. I will even say Xcode 9, updated with Xcode 10. And we knew that at some point, we're going to have to move with Xcode 11 and iOS 13 SDK. It was on end of April, and was also postponed by end of June. #pandemic. So we couldn't do app submission anymore. So at that time, last year, we decided to build an app from scratch. Actually, we started in February. We had some choice to make, some people to convince. We are a B2B company, so we can advise people on setup, but also on OSs, on devices, for better quality, for calls especially, and for us also, like headphones. So the choice was easy. We started with iOS 13 as minimum deployment target. With iOS 13 came something also obvious. You see it? Promises, guys, promises. We need to convince people, like I told you. We need to have a promise about no more calls dropping and having calls which can last 3 hours, depending on the connectivity. Also, easy call debugging with CallKit. CallKit, for those who doesn't know about, lets you integrate your calling services in other related apps on the system. It was introduced with iOS 10. It was updated last year with the breaking change. Hard to move with that. But also, the debugging was helping by the use of Datadog. Publicity, yeah. We also have the promise to increase crash-free sessions. I was talking about iOS 13. We were thinking about something else, maybe, about Swift UI and Combine. We started the app from scratch, so we needed to have we had a new design. With that, Combine will help us to have the app to add reactive programming, functional programming to our app. We are eager to do that. But back in January 2020, before the world will become a mess, everyone was talking about Swift UI also, but about the fact that will it be production ready? Apparently, no. So we had to come up with an approach. What should we do? I didn't see obvious reasons to do that at that point, to choose that, because of the poll before that. But at first, we need to improve our user experience because the customer is at the center of everything we're building, us as iOS developers. So we had to think about the UX and the new design coming. with Swift UI, there was a promise of building modern apps, modern interface on Apple platforms. Create beautiful design, app faster to develop. So it was all about design. Building components. Single source of truth for that. That allow people to work. And when I say people, I'm not just talking about iOS developers, but also about designers. So the obvious choice was to build a design system. You have seen the great talk before mine about atomic design. So we had to build a tractor app aside our app. First, we were just putting some fonts, molecules, colors, everything else, just basic stuff. So pictograms and so on, some illustration, etc. After that, we started putting atoms. With atoms came also styles, button styles. That's Swift UI was bringing. So we had some examples there. Also, dark mode, light mode, everything. We even, we go after that to molecules. With every primary colors, secondary colors, etc. The atomic design talk told you everything about that. We go really fast. And with the use of Swift UI has a promise to build fast, right? We could build like a body in just a few lines of codes, like you see. Having the use of styles, of style, line limit, and so on, padding, just with a view. Also, having different states of a button, disabled, active, enabled, etc. It was so fast that we haven't built organism inside our tractor app. But we had to take all this code and put it inside the main app, the app we were building. But people were happy because we were fast. We were so fast that sometimes we were building some views, and we were building more and more views. We were reading the doc, of course, the documentation. But we had to take into account the fact that there are other stuff we can use in Swift UI, like view modifiers, composing views, and just modify them with #viewModifier. So at that point, we had 95% of our app embedded on the common main one, I would say. The app which is doing calls, which is sharing libraries, like I told you, contacts, which has dark mode, which has many languages, with Swift UI. But it didn't come up just so smooth. Yeah. You have seen Benedict talk about that. So there was some trade-off also. Trade-off about the UX, like I told you. If we take an example, for example, about the text field, Swift UI text field, not the UI text field, we have there like a return button instead of a next button. So we are losing the UI responder chain of command, which came with UIKit, and which is the backbone of a UIKit app. If we didn't have autofill password, we just had to lose few seconds by clicking on return instead of just next. That's the text field on the first version on SwiftUI, but it's still the case. We choose to leave it like that, but that was a trade-off. So we can easily replace UI text field and text field, like you have seen with UI button and styles in the previous talk. It's the same. We can do the same by styling the UI text field. We also have some issues. Yeah. The main one was about navigation. The navigation was really buggy. The maturity of component also. The example is the tab view, Swift UI name, which is, we had to switch to wrapping a UI tab view controller inside the Swift UI view. Because we had on our tab bar, like I say, an avatar, which an availability, check small availability to see if it's available or not. So, and this in real time. So we had this little customization had to came with changing and using a UI kit component embedded inside the UI view. The pull to refresh, inexistent. Yeah, breaking a little bit the UX. The next point was about the persistence. Last year, Swift UI was introduced also with Combine, but with property wrappers. And the first one about the persistence was to use call data, which has its property wrapper. We did it, yes. Don't yell, we did it. With call data come the add fetch request property wrapper. We just need to build a view, use add fetch request inside the view. It was also easy to debug with some kind of tools, like I wanted to name it, like which is called Data Lab, to analyze and track our call data in debug mode, of course, because we are obfuscating everything. To have an accurate representation of our model. I changed my name, sorry, but yes, it worked. What about the architecture? Again, last year, Apple presented us unidirectional data flow, single source of truth. Yeah, and even introduced the name view model. Like I say, with the view model, call data, Swift UI, everything in place, we had to use fetch request to retrieve our data model. But at fetch request, it's inside a view, a Swift UI view. We weren't happy about that. Not at all. We have to import call data and import Swift UI into the same files. So we didn't do that. We erased everything on fetch request. And we had to come up with another approach, a more cleaner way, by using a repository pattern, which could help us just having respect single as SRP, single responsibility principle, and having just a class of file where we import, combine, and we fetch everything related to call data. By the way, combine has an import to call data, and line is a call data. It's an NS managed object. If you want to dig about. So we didn't have to import call data, but just importing combine was okay. And returning publishers for that. So talking about publishers and combine, we were in a learning path, like Swift UI. We haven't experienced it yet. We were doing at the same time we were developing. But again, tools were helping us. Tools like Timeline, where you can debug asynchronous code. See how your subscriptions are doing, if they're canceled, completed, active, and things like that. So we also had challenges. Challenges first about the life cycle of a view. It was so fast in Swift UI. It's still the case. We were rebuilding the view graph every time. We had to think in Swift UI. People just even wrote a book about it. Chris Heidoff, for example. So What did it? What does it? How is it? We had some business rules to take care of also by integrating everything inside the app. But if you take UIKit, for example, we have an imperative framework. We build components piece by piece, and we wire them together and shuffle data back and forth. We have SwiftUI as a declarative framework. We use it to describe the user interface. And we want SwiftUI to build that interface based on our descriptions. We also have UIKit, which is using UI view, which inherits from UI responder. And on SwiftUI, we have a view. Actually, it's a protocol, a type that represents our app interface. Also, UIKit is class-based because at that time, struct were not there. But Apple, in his infinite wisdom, just introduced us views every time. We're making a view. We're constructing a body, which returns some view. We even use view modifier that return a view. Yeah. But SwiftUI views, are they views? We were thinking about UIKit, we were thinking like we are still in the UIKit paradigm. But it's not the case anymore. We are declaring an interface. SwiftUI views are not view. They are the definition of a view. You have seen Benedict's talk about how he couldn't use frame and stuff like that. It's not your job to think about how the view will be constructed, how the view will be rendered. It's not. If you think that you can hang view models like you are doing with UI view controllers, you won't. It's not the case. If you think that your class definitions will stay there and not be flushed away, it's a struct. You won't. SwiftUI is the struct-based. It's a protocol-based. It's a standard definition. It's a DSL, it's basically, which use a definition that you just gave to it, and SwiftUI let it build it for you. He built it with the code, when he runs the code on a specific platform. On Apple, on iPhones, Apple Watches, Apple TVs, Mac, everything else. iPads. So it's agnostic to the platform. Think about it. It's just a definition. So in that case, instead of thinking in Swift and how the view will be rendered, because you don't know about the lifecycle of view, SwiftUI framework takes care of that. You need to bear that in mind. You need to think about the struct, the protocol you will use. Instead of thinking in SwiftUI, you just need to think in Swift. We also had another problem, I will say, on Combine. The fact that we were using erase to any publisher in every part of our app. We are still trying to do it the right way. We don't have the solution yet. But yeah, it's a learning process. We are using it, for example, to retrieve our entities, our data models. by using a custom publisher, but also when we retrieve some audio URL from the web services. If I had to jump quickly, I say that we did it finally. In 8 months, we started with the atomic design-driven development. And in 8 months, we were there. The road was the swift journey, that's definition. Not with ambush, but we were learning. But we were mostly sharing. The goal was reached. We were happy. Until iOS 14 came in. Oh, yes. So we have to switch from Xcode 12 and fix the graphical glitches we were having. But again, Xcode 12 came also with great tools, with instruments like debugging SwiftUI views, with glitchy SwiftUI views, for example. But we have also improvements to make. Benedict said it. But in our app, we were happy enough to do that. We even considered switching in with minimum target iOS 14 because all iOS device can switch, right? By using add_state object because we need it. When we were developing, we knew that add_observe object wasn't just the right fit for us. We need that one. Using another property wrapper, app storage, widgets, integrating our new API with GraphQL, thanks to Martin and Hélène. More and more view modifiers, composition, and everything Benedict said was also true. So, to sum up, basically, we were learning. We had the tools available, like instrument, which are really great. Timeline, which is custom instrument. So we were debugging with the tools we already have, and we should push them. We shouldn't fall with writing views every time because it's simple. We can compose them, we can have some genericity and stuff like that. And use view modifiers. And we should choose the architecture that fits our needs. We choose MVVM. It was a good fit. Last year, Thomas Ricoire talked about SwiftUI and Redux. Also a great talk from last year. So just try it. Be bold. We took the risk by trusting the stack. We didn't hesitate to choose the best fit for us, for our group. By learning and coding, but mostly sharing. We iterated. We made mistakes, a lot of mistakes. But we still have improvement to do. What was done in February will be re-challenged today in October, and next month, and the month after the next month. But we weren't alone. Other apps have made the jump, like I say. Hey, revandelis.com, but also Dashlane made it. They even wrote a blog about it. They were so happy also. So, guys, you can try it. You can embed, you can have iOS 13 code coexist with version previous than iOS 13. You just need to ask Jérôme Alves about that. He will know everything about it. Follow him on Twitter, something. You can try it. We were in the same exact situation last year. 6 years ago, sorry. With Swift from Objective-C to Swift. Some of you tried with Swift 1.1, 1.2, 2.1 before. The breaking change you knew about Swift 3.0. It was 6 years ago, and you did it. Yeah. So, please, you can do it. At least you can try. I did it. I was happy. I wasn't alone, of course. We were 5, 4, now 5. You won't be disappointed. So that was our path. Ambush, but great adventure. Merci.
So yeah, thank you very much. It was super interesting and super fun. We will do the questions without microphone. I will start with the questions. How hard was to make your PO, your product owner, accept the trade-off? And what were the key arguments?
First, we need to start quickly building the app, because the Android had like 1 year in advance. They were 1 year in advance of us, comparing to us. So they were shipping fast. So at that time, we take the atomic design-driven development to show them that we will build Swift UI views, and we will show them, because the promise was to be fast, to build a design really fast, and show them. At a certain point of time, we had 1 month in advance, so we gave them just things before 1 month in advance, and they say, okay, go. You have your trust. So we show them that.
And the overall design, overall development of the app, do you have an idea of the time that have been saved thanks to be using Swift UI? I mean, if you do not take into account the fact that it's a young technology, and if you forget about all the stuff that were painful because it's a young and not mature technology.
When we show them the design and everything, we were already talking about how much time we're gonna have to do that, and with all the features they want to get into the app at that time, in September, for example, and in October and December. But we say to them, give us 10 months, we're gonna build something as fast as we could. We did it during the lockdown, so everyone in our team was in Zoom. We had a lot of Zoom meetings, but we told them about December, we're gonna deliver something. So when we arrive in July, they say, we want more, because at that time we were really fast. So they started adding the feature, product manager. So it was originally 10 months, and in 8 we had it done.
Not being late is already being advanced.
Yeah. But I will also want to say that our app is not that complex. Also, in terms of UI, we just need a new design, because the Android app was already on the store. We need a new design. We had we made a map of all our screen. The complexity was coming from the call, from the real-time events, from all the events we were receiving, listening, and the fact that we needed to update. So the good fit was Swift UI, but mostly combined. So yes.
I have a full question. You said that your app is is easy in a way from a design point of view. Would you remake the train line app with Swift UI?
Yes, of course.
When you said that you were fast, in which part, in your opinion, is due to the fact that SwiftUI is kind of fast to iterate with, and which part is due to the fact that since it's a new technology, the team was more willing, more excited? Yes.
Yes. The team indeed was more excited because it was a new technology, and because we had the opportunity to do it. Because in many business, it's not the case. But again, we can manage that. We can convince and try to do some atomic design, show it, and say that, okay, we can ship stuff. And the first question was?
I mean, it's the same question, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was it, and actually it can be also a good argument to come back to the very first question, an argument on the management team saying that rewriting an app can be dangerous, but it also has the benefit to be like a really motivation aspect that will help the team to like be really happy to come to work and redesign the whole app instead of working on legacy code.
Yes.
And yeah, that seems to be.
Yes, because on the legacy code, we had to learn about the business, how the business was doing, how the business rule, but also the architecture which was built, and the onboarding phase was a little bit long, so we had to take a decision about that.
Thank you very much.